Hey, MedSpa owners, I wanted to share an update and also do a deeper dive on the purchase matrix. How do MedSpa clients decide where they're going to go for services for their first visit primarily, but also how do they decide where they're going to stay and where they're going to feel comfortable settling into their MedSpa home? So, to make this a little bit easier, I used to talk about this in terms of buckets, right? Bucket one, bucket two, bucket three. But I think really there's a weight to this. I know most people have, or different people have different priorities, right? So this is not a perfect representation. There are going to be some people that care way more about price than others, but I think this is typical of a good type of client that you want to attract to your med spa, kind of person that's hopefully going to spend money consistently, come back for months and years to come. This is probably in the ballpark of an accurate reflection of how they make a purchase decision. So I'm going to go over this and then I'm going to explain the nuances of this and how different strategy decisions can impact your marketing investment. So kind of blueprinting this based on percentages, you'll notice that I have the biggest section here is going to be reputation and affection. So this is, hey, ultimately, why am I doing this? Why am I going to get Botox? Why am I getting laser hair removal? Why am I interested in Morpheus 8? Whatever it is, you're interested in an outcome, right? That's what you're selling as a med spa. As a marketing agency, we sell an outcome. You sell an outcome to your patients primarily. And the first thing you have to do is people need to feel confident that you're going to be a really top tier provider in terms of providing that outcome. The way that they determine that generally is going to be what they find online and or word of mouth. So let's just use the online non word of mouth example. The typical person that's looking for a new med spa, they just moved to the area or they're thinking about scheduling that first Botox appointment. They're going to look at things like your Google reviews, your Instagram profile, and your website, right? And they're going to make some sort of an assessment on your reputation and how they feel about it, the affection element. And that's going to be the biggest bucket of the purchase matrix here. The next thing is going to be convenience. You could check all of those boxes, but if you're 45 minutes across town, it's not super convenient. They might look for an option that checks those boxes that's closer to them. So the second thing is going to be convenience. Where is this place relative to where I live, work, or consistently travel? I'm in a suburb of Nashville called Mount Juliet. We're about 25, 30 minutes east of town. And I might see, like, if you're in our town, you might see med spas that are in downtown Nashville, but we've got a few that have really good reputations in town. And it's going to be a hard pitch to convince somebody that doesn't already go downtown for work to go downtown if there's med spas in our town that have really nice offices, beautiful, um, like spaces, really good Google reviews, awesome Instagram profiles, and there are. So the convenience factor is probably going to be number two for most people. And then the third thing is going to be price. After those boxes are checked, okay, if I check those boxes with a couple different providers and there are a couple people that fit that criteria, now maybe price impacts the purchase decision and it can sway where I end up choosing to schedule that first visit. So this is, I know, a little bit at its surface, it's going to seem a little counter to some of the advice I've talked about on this podcast because I talk about how important discounting is to customer acquisition cost and effectiveness of your efforts. So if I'm saying, hey, well, you need an aggressive promo to lower your customer acquisition cost and give you more at bats. If price is only this 20% of the pie, why do we care so much about that? Why does it make so much of a difference in our marketing results? So let's do a couple things to illustrate this point. The first is I'm going to go just to a Google search. And I'm going to Google Botox near me, just as an example. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out where we're going to go for this first Botox appointment. And what do I see here? Well, oh, Smiley Aesthetics. They're close to me actually, and they've got 5 stars on Google. Wow, that might be a really good option. Allen Aesthetic 4.9. That may be a good option too. Wes Wilson Aesthetic. Glow Wilco 5 stars, 99 reviews. All these right in my little pocket of town here. These are people within, I don't know, 7-8 minutes of my house. So I've got a nice handful of options here that are viable options in terms of third-party reputation data that I find on Google. I might go look at Yelp and some other things, but what I'm probably going to do next now is I'm probably going to click around to the websites of these practices. I'm going to look at that. I'm going to look at the information on the business. I'm going to look at the providers. I'm going to look at the space. And I'm going to try to make an assessment of, hey, where's the place that I really feel most comfortable with scheduling this appointment? I might go follow the providers on Instagram and check out the different providers. I might seek out a specific provider. But the bottom line is this is the first thing almost all of your ideal prospects are doing when they're trying to decide where they're going to go for that appointment. So they may have even seen your ad on Google or on Facebook and Instagram, and they might have responded to that ad, but before they schedule that appointment, they're probably going to go through these steps. So this can also be why you generate leads that don't convert, and there can be a discrepancy in results even though you're generating leads. If people are doing their research and they're not super pumped about the decision, they're not going to schedule the appointment with you. No good promo or special can overcome these things, especially when you're trying to attract the right type of client. So assume this is what your prospects are doing. They're looking at your Google reviews, they're going to your website, and they're browsing your Instagram profile and maybe even the profiles of your providers. So make sure that this looks top notch, that this makes people as comfortable and confident as possible so that we're really optimizing for the reputation and affection element. This episode is brought to you by MedSpa Magic Marketing, my agency. We help med spas and aesthetics practices grow with more effective marketing strategies. And I know that's a vague phrase, right? It's a vague claim. So I have an offer for you. I offer this to any new prospects. If you're interested in exploring another marketing option, a new agency, or just getting into Facebook, Instagram, Google Ads for the first time, I'd love to show you why we're different, what we're doing for clients. And we can do that via a 1.5 hour planning session where I'll outline a specific marketing plan and I'll give you all of the blueprints that we would implement if we were to do business together. Now you can take that, use that on your own, hire someone else to help you execute it, or work with us. We really don't hold anything back on that strategy call. And I think you'll have a lot of confidence in how you manage your marketing investment moving forward, understanding some of the nuances that can help you implement more effective marketing strategies for your business. So if you want to do that, you can go to medspamagicmarketing.com. So next thing is, I already kind of, in this case, looked at the people that were convenient. I want something that's close to my house. And so I might, through the course of this, found providers that check all of these boxes, which in this case we have, right? There are multiple providers that have really nice websites. I guarantee there's multiple providers that have really beautiful Instagram profiles and all the reviews sound amazing. And they've got great patient testimonials. So one of the reasons that we do focus a lot of our efforts, even though this is 20% of the pie, is it can be hard objectively to stand out on the other two factors. Convenience, it's a wash. I've got multiple providers that are close to my house. Even within that bucket, I've got multiple providers with amazing reputations, beautiful Instagram profiles, and great websites close to my house. So the easiest and obvious thing to manipulate to impact the purchase decision is price. And that's an explanation of why we focus on that. Because if I'm overwhelmed with my options, I see multiple providers, I'm trying to figure out where to go, and somebody dangles a carrot in front of me that makes it really easy and obvious that I'm getting a really good deal, and I don't have to think about this anymore. I've already made the decision that I've got 3 or 4 providers that check all the boxes, and now I'm just going to go with the one that's got the most exciting promo. That's a lot of times what happens when people are making that purchase decision. And that's why we do focus a lot on promo. So I wanted to tie that into another concept. So we've got a video on here talking about how customer acquisition cost is directly related to the attractiveness of your offer. As you dial up the attractiveness of your offer, your deal, your special, your marketing message in general, you're going to lower your customer acquisition cost, which gives you more appointments, right? If I'm paying $100 in customer acquisition cost, then I'm seeing 10 patients for every $1,000. If I'm spending $333 in customer acquisition cost, that means I'm seeing 3 patients for $1,000. That's a massive difference. On that note, I got an email from an Allergan digital marketing consultant we're friendly with this morning. And he had some clients that were testing multiple promos for Botox new patient acquisition. They were testing $50, $75, and $100 off. And it was a perfect A-B test, if you will. In this case, ABC test, I guess you could call it. Because all of those had basically the same number of leads coming through them because the probability that people got the deal was split. So if there were 100 leads, 33 got the $100 offer, 33 got the $75 offer, 33 got the $50 offer. In this case, these people were coming from Google ads, so they weren't even actively searching out a deal. They were just looking for a provider. When they analyzed the data, they had dramatically better results on the $100 off offer than they did the 75 and 50, way lower customer acquisition cost, which meant more patient bookings. And when they analyzed the data, there was minimal, if any, difference in the lifetime value, patient quality, or initial visit revenue. So why is that? Because the discount is the carrot that you dangle to get people through the door. But ultimately, after consultation, you're going to provide a treatment plan that's pretty much going to be the same, whether that person responded to a $100 off offer or just a free consult. The treatment plan is the same. So that's why I think a focus on discounting and promotions for the initial visit to tip the scales in your favor, when people are making a multi-factor analysis of this nature and to lower your customer acquisition cost by all available evidence. And that was a really cool example from our friend, the consultant this morning, illustrating a real life case study of this being the case in practice when it was actually tested. So I wanted to explain that, kind of the nuances that go into how your clients and customers are making their purchase decisions, and why we do tend to focus on how can we make the offer attractive to make this a no-brainer that tips the scales in our favor when people are weighing multiple other options that are also reputable, convenient, have nice Instagrams, websites, and Google reviews. Hope that was helpful. Thanks, and we'll see you on the next one.